In a garment factory outside Manila, 20 women hand over 500 pesos each on payday. One of them walks home with 10,000. Next payday, they do it again, and a different woman takes the whole pot. Nobody signs anything. No interest is charged, no bank is involved at any point, and no one in that room has ever been asked for a credit history. That same arrangement is running this month in China, in Korea, in Indonesia, in India, in Vietnam, in Nepal, in Pakistan, under a different name in every one of them. It was written about in China more than 2,000 years ago when it was called simply a society. One economist described it as the poor man's bank, where the money never sits still, and the strangest part is what holds it together. Not a contract, not a court, not one single thing that a lawyer would recognize as security. So how does a thing with no contract actually work? The design is simpler than you would expect and stricter. A fixed group meets at a fixed interval and every member hands over the same amount. One of them takes the whole pot that round. Next round, they all pay again and a different member takes it. This continues until everyone has had a turn. The groups range from as few as 5 members to as many as 100, and the intervals can be weekly, monthly, or tied to the harvest season when cash is actually in hand. In some versions, the group agrees at the start on a specific item, such as a household appliance or a piece of equipment, and every participant walks away with the same object when their number comes up. Members decide the order in advance. Sometimes they set it by mutual agreement, sometimes by lottery, and sometimes by auction. In the auction version, members secretly write down the discount they are willing to accept, and whoever offers the largest reduction takes the pot first. The discount is then distributed among the remaining members, which means the patient participants earn a return while the eager ones pay a premium for early access. Everyone pays through the full cycle, no matter when they receive. The member who takes the pot first has effectively borrowed from everyone else without paperwork. The member who takes it last has saved steadily and has lent to the rest of the group for free. There is no branch, no manager, and no vault. The meeting itself is the bank. The money never sits idle, and no one needs a credit history to join. Now, if you grew up anywhere in Asia, there is a good chance you already know this, and you know it by a different word. In the Philippines, it is Paluwagan. In Chinese communities, it is hui. In Korea, ge. In Indonesia, Arisan. In India, the Chit fund. In Vietnam, hui. In Pakistan, kameti. In Nepal, dikuri. And it does not stop at Asia. West Africa calls it susu. South Africa, stokvel. The West Indies, padna. Egypt, gameya. Ethiopia, ekube. 13 names, 13 languages. One idea arrived at separately, over and over, by people who had never met. Anthropologists documented this pattern on every inhabited continent. Clifford Geertz described it from his fieldwork in Java, and Shirley Ardener set out the comparative study a couple of years later. What is striking is not that someone invented it once and it spread. The real surprise is that communities with no contact with each other built the exact same structure because the problem was universal. When you need a lump sum and the bank will not look at you, there are only so many ways to solve it. This was the solution that required nothing but trust, which raises the obvious question. Why would anyone build this when a bank exists? Formal credit asks for 3 things that most people in most of history did not have: collateral, documentation, a history. If you lack all 3, a bank does not see you, and in many parts of Asia, that remains true today. The World Bank finds that roughly a quarter of adults in sub-Saharan Africa have used a savings club. That figure hints at the scale of the gap, but the history runs deeper, and the pattern is not limited to any one region or era. A 2024 study in the Economic History Review examined Shaanxi province in China from the 18th to the 20th centuries. 7 in every 100 households participated in these associations, with expected returns estimated between roughly 2.5% and 6% a year. The shares were liquid enough that households traded them and commercial entities used them alongside conventional credit. This was not a marginal practice in a remote village. It was infrastructure. It was what people used when the formal door was closed, and it worked well enough that they kept it running for centuries. And here is the part that makes it work, and it is not the money. There is usually no legal framework surrounding these circles and no authority to enforce the rules. A court would often struggle even to recognize the agreement because the terms were oral, the records were informal, and the amounts were too small to justify the cost of a lawsuit. Yet default is rare, and the reason is not punishment. The cost of breaking trust is permanent exclusion from a community you cannot leave. Your name is the collateral, and your standing is the lien. Studies across continents found that kinship groups face fewer enforcement problems than groups of colleagues or casual friends because the social stakes are higher and the shame is shared. The threat of losing face and of being barred from every future circle turns out to be more decisive than any formal penalty. In some communities, the organizer simply visits the home of a defaulting member and makes clear that the obligation stands. If that fails, word travels, and the defaulting member finds every other door in the neighborhood quietly closed. The security is social, not legal, and in many places it has held for centuries without a single sheet of official paper. There is one more thing these circles have in common across every country, and almost nobody outside them notices it. Across the world, these associations are most often founded and run by women. In households where a wife controlled no bank account of her own, the circle was money she did control. The meeting was a social occasion as much as a financial one, often held in someone's home with food prepared by the host, and the conversation ranged far beyond who was taking the pot next. In Reform-era China, Kelly Tsai's fieldwork from the mid-90s showed that women micro-entrepreneurs led participation in Hui associations. In some southern sites, 64% of participants were women, and in one county, the figure reached 90%. In Indonesia, Arisan gatherings act as a key venue for women's sociality and empowerment. The circle was not merely a tool for moving cash. It was a space where women managed their own affairs, set their own terms, and built networks that existed outside the formal economy. For many participants, the social fabric of the meeting was as valuable as the financial payout. So what does the pot actually turn into? Not savings, not a balance, something you could put your hand on. Not abstractions, a market stall, a sewing machine, a jeepney, a tuition payment, a roof before the rainy season, a funeral. Members typically directed the pot toward a durable good, to absorb a sudden shock, or to clear a more expensive debt they had taken elsewhere. A woman who drew the pot in March might pick up a sewing machine that let her take orders from neighbors for the rest of the year, turning a single lump sum into a stream of income that outlasted the cycle itself. A man who drew the lot before the monsoon might repair the roof so his family stayed dry. A mother might pay a semester of tuition so her daughter stayed in school, or cover a funeral so her relative was buried with dignity. In some variations, the group agreed at the outset on a specific physical item, and everyone received the same good when their turn came, which let them negotiate a bulk discount they could never have secured alone. Nobody joined for a balance on a ledger. It was a stall that generated income, a machine that made work possible, or a roof that kept a family dry. The abstraction became a life. Every circle has one person carrying more than the others. In many communities, the organizer's standing is the product. They choose the members, they decide the order, and they absorb the reputational cost if anything goes wrong. That role is unpaid, and it forms the whole architecture. In Chinese Hui, the Huitu approves new participants and manages the gatherings. In Filipino Paluwagan, the manager collects contributions and distributes payouts. The organizer's credibility has to cover choosing honest individuals, handling the cash, keeping the record straight, and sometimes covering a default out of their own pocket to preserve the group's reputation. If the organizer falls short, the circle collapses, and their own name is the first thing that breaks. They carry the weight so the rest don't have to, and they do it for no salary, no commission, and no official title. Their only protection is the same social fabric that binds the members, and their only leverage is the trust they have spent years building. Now, everyone in that room already knows what can go wrong. It would be dishonest of me to tell you this story without it. The organizer can take the pot and disappear, and it has happened. A member can collect early and stop paying, and that has happened too. There is no contract to enforce, no regulator to call, and in most countries, no court that would know what to do with the complaint. And there is a second risk, which is stranger. The practice became so trusted and its name so respected that people learned to borrow the name. In India, some of the largest financial frauds in the country's history were sold to families as chit funds. They were nothing of the kind. A real circle promises no return at all. You receive what you put in one lump and nothing more. Those schemes promised high returns and paid the early investors with money taken from the late ones, which is a completely different machine wearing a familiar word. The families who lost everything were not betrayed by the tradition. They were betrayed by people who knew how much that tradition was trusted. And whoever holds the final position has lent money to everybody else, for free, for the entire cycle, while carrying every bit of that risk. They remain the last to receive, and if anyone defaults after taking the pot early, they are the ones who absorb the loss. It proves to be the worst seat at the table, and somebody always takes it. They join anyway, not because they have not thought about it, because the alternative was never a safer product. The alternative was nothing at all. The risk was never hidden from them. It was priced in, and the price was still lower than being told no by every bank in the country. Which leaves the question of what these circles actually were. These circles were not charity, and they were not what people did before they learned about banking. They were a different answer to the same problem, and in one respect, a better one. A bank asks what you own. The circle asks who knows you. And for most people, across most of human history, only the second question had an answer. They did not lack a financial system. They built one out of the only thing they had in surplus, which was each other. So tell me two things below. What was it called in your family? And what did somebody actually buy with it, the thing that would not have happened otherwise? I am asking because I want to make the second one out of your answers. If enough of you tell me the name your family used, we will put the whole map together, and it will be longer than the one I just gave you. This is Asian status, where we sit with how the long-lived and the quietly wealthy across Asia actually lived, slowly and with the receipts. Stay a while. And if you want to know the 7 more meals only Chinese nobility were allowed to eat, watch this video next.